Hello and good afternoon everybody, and welcome back to today's video of DIY investing. The IEO craze is here, ladies and gentlemen. Who remembers back in 2017 with how crazy things got during the ICO explosion? Ethereum saw value skyrocketing from just under $6 all the way up to $1,400 at its peak. This caused a massive new influx of value inside of the market, along with a ton of different scams that we saw through the ICO craze. What we're starting to see now are these new releases called IEOs, which is basically an ICO with the backing of an exchange. These are things that we haven't really heard a lot of until just recently with this recent explosion with some of these altcoins on Binance. But I wanted to cover them in today's video and kind of explain what they are, how they work, and how you guys can invest in them. We're gonna go through, look at some TA over some of these IEOs that I've been looking at, and give you guys my thoughts and perspective moving forward in the short-term to long-term future. If you guys like my videos and want to see more of them, do myself a favor by leaving a like, comment, and subscribing to this channel for more updates. If you guys like my analysis and want to see more of that, click the invitation in the description of this video, and there you're gonna get access to my Discord server. There's lots of really cool things happening with crypto right now, and all of this is just leading me to believe that the bull market is most definitely here, and there's really no doubt in my mind in saying that. So with all that being said, let's jump right in the video today. Welcome back everybody. We're gonna jump right in for today's video by talking about what are initial exchange offerings, or IEOs. Now, if you guys follow crypto Twitter or you follow any sort of social media with cryptocurrency, you'll notice that there has been a lot of talk of these new IEOs that have been coming out, specifically the ones that launched on Binance. Now, for you guys that do not know what an IEO is an initial exchange offering. So it's similar to an ICO, only the developers are issuing these IEOs through the help of a third-party source such as an exchange. And so these things have been taken off the last couple days. We've got a couple that we're going to dive in and look at some technical analysis on. But for you guys that do not understand what an IEO is, I'm actually going to go through and read this article from the dailyhodl.com that talks about some of the basics towards these IEOs. We're not going to get into a ton of detail with them, but I do want you guys to have a little bit of an understanding with them, because of the fact these are something that are going to be good to look for in the next bull run. Now, obviously, we all remember what happened with Ethereum with the ICO craze. We watched Ethereum have a major explosion throughout the market, and it was driven by these ICOs. Now, the only real problem with ICOs was the fact that a lot of them were scams. You saw a significant amount of exit scams going on. A lot of developers weren't real people. They didn't show themselves. A lot of developers lied about who was actually developing the coins when it could have been just one person the whole time. And so you had all of these little miscues that happened, and a lot of people lost money in the process. At the same time, you had a lot of people make a significant amount of money. But ICOs were kind of a scam for the most part. You don't really hear a lot about them anymore, especially after the major crash that we saw in the market. Big reason why Ethereum bled so hard throughout this entire bear market was because of the fact these ICOs were pulling their funds and selling their Ethereum that they had made from the initial coin offerings. Now, these IEOs are cool for a specific reason, that is, they're a little bit more backed towards something, right? So with the ICOs, it was kind of you just spend your money and invest in these companies or these developers with the hopes of them going out and doing the marketing, with going out and trying to find exchanges and paying the exchange fees to get their coins listed. And so it was really just a big gamble. You really had to know what you were doing if you were going to profit with the ICO craze. But the thing with these IEOs is the fact there's a lot more substance behind them. It's an exchange that's offering the coin offering, right? So it's an exchange that's putting it on. The developers link up with these exchanges and they say, hey, we've got this project. We really think it's going to do good. Here, you guys should check it out. And we want to add it to your exchange. And so then the exchange looks it over. And if they get the okay that it's a good enough project for them to kind of put their backing on it, then they'll add it to their exchange. And so this helps with a number of different things that we're going to cover in today's video. But I really wanted to cover this because of the fact we all remember how big the ICO craze was for 2017, huge driver of value in the market throughout that time. And so these IEOs having a little bit more substance than the ICO counterpart, it seems as if we could be jumping on a really early trend with investing in some of these and looking to get some nice returns in the short term to long term future. We all remember how profitable ICOs were, and so there's really no reason in my mind to think that this couldn't be the counterpart that does the exact same thing in the next bull cycle. So I'm going to be watching closely for these IEOs. But with all that said, let's jump right into this article today. Top 3 initial exchange offerings, IEOs, to watch in the crypto market. Now, I already have them all charted up here, and so we're going to go through and look at those, but I want to give you guys a quick rundown of an IEO. Right? So what is an IEO? What is the difference between an IEO and an ICO? The crypto market has some weird ways to camouflage the same methodology and terminology of raising funds. The tactics changed, adapted, and were effectively rebranded. An official exchange offering follows a very similar pattern to the ICO. The main difference is that both the contributor and the developer have their transactions facilitated by a third party, the third party being the exchanges. In the case of an IEO, the third party is an exchange. In this way, you can think of an IEO as a 2.0 version of an ICO. So there's just a little bit more substance backing these offerings, whereas before you just kind of had some developers that you had to go by off their word. And with the IEO, you do have an exchange's trust in a certain sense. Can't guarantee anything, but it does help. Benefits of an IEO, you may ask. An IEO gives confidence to participants because the exchange has done the due diligence by accepting the project on their platform. They are signaling a green light. Exchanges are a secure way of avoiding phishing sites, scams, and fraud attempts, assuming the credibility of the exchange. Also, you are protected from potential bridges and flaws on the smart contract. Contributor protection. In the sense that most ICOs in the bear market, as soon as they get to the market, usually experience a 20% or higher dump, affecting the price of issuance. By raising capital through an exchange, projects will avoid this fate in the majority of cases. All the projects that make an IEO are benefiting from the marketing tools used by the exchange. It's a big help, and fewer costs are required for the project to raise awareness. Liquidity is something that lacks in a bear market. For less hyped projects, getting liquidity is a challenge. With an IEO, that's a totally different scenario, right? So basically what that means is these developers reach out to these exchanges, they host an IEO, and they ask that the exchange would be their contributor for the third party. And so these exchanges go over, they look over these projects, and they say, well, they basically give the okay. If they don't believe in its functionality or its long-term future, then they won't accept it, obviously. And if they do, they accept it, and then these IEOs and the developers, and not only that, but the people that were investing in the initial coin offering, they are basically guaranteeing themselves a significant amount of liquidity in the time, because one problem was the fact that in the bear market, these ICOs tried to launch, and it was the worst thing they could do because they really didn't get a lot of funding. In fact, the funding was so insignificant compared to those that were funding in the bull market that you saw a lot of good projects that would have normally done really well struggle to actually make enough money to keep their project afloat. And so with these IEOs, you get a benefit from the actual marketing strategies of the exchange. Think about how many people use Binance, and so these newer coins that are getting dumped and added onto Binance, they're going to get a lot of attention in the time, which helps for liquidity, especially in the market right now. I do believe we're fully in a bull market, which is why we're actually seeing Tron make BitTorrent and then release that to the network. You're seeing this new influx of IEOs coming to the exchanges, and it's because I'm pretty sure that they all know what's about to happen, and so they're just trying to jump on that initial hype first. And so this is kind of the rundown of an IEO. Now next we're going to be taking a look at a few different IEOs, and we're going to be looking at their charts. Now I had a couple people talk to me about some of these in the Discord. I'm really hoping that you guys traded them. I didn't have much of a thought towards them at the time. They kind of went against my initial trading plan simply because of the fact I trade based off of technical analysis. and they were a little bit harder for me to trade as far as the cycle perspective goes. But after kind of looking into what exactly they are, I didn't know what an IEO was at the time. I didn't know that that's even what they were. But now looking into these IEOs, I think it's important that I make this video for you guys to really talk about some of the potential that these have. Now, I just look at it from a perspective of, once again, the ICO craze back in 2017, and so I'm expecting this to be very similar. And so for you guys that maybe know a little bit more than I do about these IEOs, feel free to share some information, maybe some articles, maybe just your overall opinion inside of my Discord server. It'd be really cool to get some more information on that and all of these in general moving forward. And not only that, but if you've been charting some of these, drop them in the Discord, and it'd be cool to have some conversation about them. These are definitely going to be projects that I'm going to be looking into. All right, first on the list is going to be Matic Network. Now, Matic was really the first one to start rising. This is the first one I heard about. I knew some traders that actually made some money off of this, and so this is one that is made a significant amount of hype since its initial release onto the exchange, and in that time we've had a very massive parabolic run. Now, with this parabolic run, it's important to note that now is not the best time to be buying this. Obviously, you're going to want to wait for this hype to die down. It is very much possible that we go higher in this cycle. You can never know with a super parabolic coin. But for the most part, it's important to just understand that these things get very hyped in their cycles. This was really the first one to start popping off, but it's really cool to see that these things get added to an exchange, and then we might see things get added to an exchange and then they just take off almost instantaneously, especially inside of the bull market with some of these better equipped projects for really just driving value inside of the market. And so this was the first one. We had a very massive parabolic run. If we drop to a shorter time frame, it looks like we could be seeing a little bit of complacency right here before we start dropping lower, making our first lower high. If we break support at about right here, then that's going to look very bearish. That's going to be a confirmed trend flip. And so you're not going to want to be buying this in this time. But it is cool to see that we are seeing a little bit more diversity inside of the market. There has been IEOs for a little while, but for the most part, these exchanges are now starting to really incorporate them. And I believe the ones that get added to Binance are going to be the ones that are able to profit significantly at the start of all of this craze, just because of how hyped Binance is. It's really the most trustable exchange that you can use at this point. I mean, they did just get hacked 40 million, so that just goes to show like how exchanges aren't the most trustable things in general. But as far as the average person's understanding of exchanges, I believe that they're the most backed just by the average person and trust as far as that goes. But like I said, guys, these IEOs are really starting to take off, and I believe that they're going to be solid investments for the midterm to long-term future. Even in the short term, I mean, if we start to see more of these things get added and really start to pop off, it's going to be very exciting for this next bull run, because it gives us an opportunity to really accumulate when these things get added to an exchange, accumulate at these discount prices before they just start exploding. Because I mean, from the low of this move to current prices, you're talking about 11x return. So that's awesome, guys. That's really cool, especially for some of you guys that were able to buy and hold throughout this time. It shows that there is a lot of profit potential to be had with some of these IEOs. Now, next up on the list is going to be BitTorrent. This is one I was looking to accumulate back in here. I didn't do it, unfortunately. Oh well, it's not a big deal. But now I'm watching for what's going to happen with current prices. Now, we did just break that all-time high mark, and we're currently getting a retest of this previous all-time high, and so this one's looking very bullish. I think that with Matic most likely topping out in the relative future, I believe that that money is going to kind of start entering BitTorrent, or BitTorrent will just kind of follow its own cycle, because I believe that this thing has a significant more amount of value to still come with this cycle. I believe that with us breaking out of this hype, I believe with us breaking out of this all-time high, we'll probably get a retrace in the short term and a retest of this previous all-time high before we actually start going higher in the cycle. And so this one, in my opinion, is one that's looking to be a good buy here very soon. I'm most likely going to be posting a signal for this inside of my Discord server, because I do like how it's going thus far. This looks to be like a one wave. before we're getting ready for the most impulsive 3. And so for me personally, I'm going to be looking to accumulate the retrace and the retest of this previous all-time high. I think that this is going to be a solid cycle to look for, especially with Matic looking to be very overextended and looking like we could see a short-term retrace in that. I would believe that these IEOs are going to be linked as far as accumulation goes, and it would make sense that we're going to see some of this money kind of fluctuate in between the others. And so this is going to be the one that I'm going to watch out for is BitTorrent. I know that it's connected to Tron to some degree. I'm not exactly sure how, but this is going to be very bullish, especially with how close the developer of Tron and the CEO of Binance are. I believe that we can see a very massive pump and rise out of this. It's got a lot of factors going into this cycle that just makes me feel like we're going to see a very massive parabolic run. And so for me, I'm going to be looking to be buying some of this because it does look like a solid bet and something that you can put your money in and really just watch it go into extreme price discovery. Next up on the list is Fetch.ai. Now I had a member in my Discord, shout out to Bolioni. He was talking to me about this coin clear back at the bottom. Now he was looking at the Bitcoin pair. Let's go take a look at that. So these were my targets that I had drawn here. He pointed out that we were in this falling wedge pattern, and it looked to be at the terminal end of this correction. And so I drew these 2 targets, and it's actually cool to see that we're about to hit my first target. So he posted this signal basically at the bottom. So shout out to him. I really hope you bought this. If you did, shout out to you. That is awesome. If not, live and learn, I guess. We'll be watching out for some more of these, so it'll be cool to see what we can do as far as the short-term and long-term future. But with this, he called the bottom. We're currently already heading up towards my first target at about 180% gains, and then I was watching for my second target about 450%. We're gonna have to watch and see exactly how crazy this cycle gets, but for the most part, these are very solid trade setups that you can look to be taking in the short term, especially when these get added to an exchange. Now keep in mind they dump, but if we take a look at Matic, we saw the similar thing. We saw prices get added to the exchange and then it dumped, right? Now when they dump, it looks like you're losing a lot, and you technically would be. I mean, if you bought the top or something, then that's a 12% swing to 25%, and so you would be losing money in the short term. So it's kind of hard to say exactly how these might go. That's why I wasn't investing in this time or looking to be buying any of these, because this setup, even though it was a falling wedge, I didn't trust it as much. I didn't know what an IEO was. I didn't know this was an IEO, and so I was waiting for an actual market cycle to kind of play out before I was looking to accumulate. But this is nice because we are seeing that initial rally up. I would expect us to get short-term rejected from this resistance, maybe fall a little bit. It looks like we could retrace very soon from where we're at, but for the most part, these are cool things to be watching out for. With this initial retrace, it looks as if we could be seeing something very similar with Fetch. Keep in mind, this is also the dollar pair, so I'm sure it's going to look a little bit different. Bitcoin pairs don't go as parabolic, generally speaking, and so I'm going to be watching out for this one, but I'm going to drop it back to the dollar chart because I like to trade these a little bit more. But yeah, we have broken out. We are getting close to that all-time high mark. I wouldn't be surprised if we come and retest this previous lower high that we experienced right here. I think that would be a good area to target for the short term, but for the most part, based off an Elliott wave perspective, it looks something like this. One, and we're working on the 3. I don't know if this is the top of the 3, if we're going to go a little bit higher, but 3, and then I think we would get a pullback down to here before we finish out our 5 wave, and then that 5 wave should take us past all-time highs. And then I would expect these to continue in their hype cycle, guys. I'm very excited about these overall. We currently have more volume coming into this 3 wave than the entire last cycle combined from the initial add to the exchange. And so these are all very plus signs when it comes to looking to accumulate and taking some positions in some of these trades. So these are all some of these top IEOs that I've been watching for. I'm going to be watching these a lot more and posting some more signal updates inside of my Discord because I do believe that there's going to be a lot of hype surrounding these coins, especially with the backing of exchanges. I mean, you've got a lot of factors in here that just smell or just spell bull run to me. I mean, think about how crazy ICOs got, and now you're having an ICO 2.0, only this time it's backed by the trust of an exchange, and an exchange like Binance nonetheless. So these are all very hyped projects that I'm expecting to perform well. Now we have one more on the list, and this is Multivac. Now, I don't know, this reminds me of Ripple, to be honest. They kind of look the same right now, This one hasn't really had a ton of new volume coming in here, but it does look very undervalued for the most part. And so I'm going to be watching this one. It looks like we could be seeing something like this play out. 1, 3, 5 up to here. This to me, I'm actually going to put some waves on here so it's easier to see what's going on. We're going to go to minuscule. And it looks like we could be seeing something like this. 1, 3, 5. And so this was our one wave. And then this is one of our 3 that we're still working on before we do actually break out of all-time highs and start the new cycle back up. Now this is one that could get very hyped, and so I'm making the video right now today talking about why I think that this one's going to be a good buy. It's just because of the fact this one hasn't really moved a whole lot from these lows. We do look like we have our finished one wave with our new 3 waves starting in the process. And so usually what happens is you start the one wave within the previous cycle and some of these lows that we experience, and then the 3 wave will take us beyond all-time highs and really set that breakout. And then usually the 4 wave kind of retests that. Depending on how hyped it gets, we could see something way more parabolic where the 4 wave doesn't retrace as much, and then it kind of just leaves everybody else waiting on the sidelines, because that happens as well. So this is just something to watch out for. But for the most part, I'm watching this just because it looks to be a very solid setup in the short term. You can't really go wrong, in my opinion, buying some of these just based off of the simple fact they are very solid coins as far as they're just backed by the trust of an exchange. Now, have we ever had a coin that was backed by the trust of an exchange? No, we haven't. And so with that being said, there's just so much more trust involved with it. Now, I know cryptocurrency is supposed to kind of do away with having to trust some third-party source, but you got to keep in mind, guys, we're still at this point in society where the average person wants trust. And trust is good. We just need to figure out a better way to diversify that trust in a way where it comes down to more of an agreement that nobody can manipulate, which is the great thing about cryptocurrency, is because that's kind of what they're designed for. But with that being said, guys, these cryptocurrencies can be scams, especially these ICOs, if you don't know who's the developer, if you don't know a lot of the technicalities behind the fundamental perspective behind them. And so these ICOs, or what I should say IEOs, are going to be very beneficial for people that are looking to accumulate just based off of the backing of a little bit more trust involved. Anytime an exchange like Binance, who obviously knows what he's doing, whether he's just doing it to pump coins or whatever, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, you're just looking to profit off your cryptocurrencies. And so with that being said, these are all going to be, let's see here, 4 coins that I'm watching out for. If you guys know of any new ones that are in the development, or that are in development still, or looking to be added to an exchange relatively soon, feel free to share your thoughts and analysis in the description of this video by clicking the invitation link, and there you're going to get access to my Discord server. I definitely want to see some people talking about these, maybe studying up a little bit on these, because I do believe they hold a lot of potential for this next cycle, and I'd really like to see some people be making some money off of these. So this is the video I had for you guys. Really just wanted to give you a short update with these IEOs, give you a little bit of an introduction to what they are, how they work. I would love to learn more, and so if you guys have any more information to share with me, please feel free to do so, either in the comments of this video or, like I said, by joining my Discord server, whatever you guys want to do. Just about to 100 members, so do your thing, guys. I love to have you guys a part of this team, and it's awesome to see how quickly we're growing here, and it's exciting to see what's going to happen with all of this in cryptocurrency moving forward. We're seeing lots of bullish sentiment entering the market. These IEOs are really exciting to me, just because of the fact it really does point to me that this bull market has started. You wouldn't see these things start launching if they didn't believe that the bull market was here, because we saw how drastic and we saw how terrible and damaging it was to launch an ICO in the bear market. Now, why would they start launching these IEOs in the bear market as well? It just doesn't make sense. So I believe that bull run is here, and these IEOs are going to perform exceptionally well, and so there's something that we all need to be watching out for this coming cycle. Thank you all so much for watching this video. I will catch you guys in the next one. As always, peace out.